Hey y'all, I'm Tim. Welcome to the Mr. Maple Show. Today we've got a really unique video for you. We often do our question videos here, but sometimes this is basically Fridays are our day that people can learn about Japanese maples. And today we got an extra geeky one for them, don't we?
Man, I mean, the Maple Society was such a great event to attend. I encourage everyone to join that if you're into just maples in general, or if you're an advanced learner or whatever you might be, whatever stage you're in. The Maple Society is super cool. But we had a presentation there. We had a couple of gentlemen that allowed us to record some of their presentations there, and Alan Tabler was one of those people, and he gave an absolutely just super intriguing and interesting presentation on variegated plants and bud sports and maples. I thought it was just so interesting to listen to his talk.
Yeah, it was ethereal traits in Japanese maples.
Yeah.
And Alan Tabler is retired now. He worked at Don Schmidt Nursery.
Yeah.
And he has a wealth of knowledge, and he's got some really interesting points about it and some really interesting theories about Japanese maples. You know, if you get geeky about maples like we do, this is something you do. Make sure you watch this presentation. And if you get geeky with maples like we do, make sure you become a member of the Maple Society. Maple Society, you can go in there. If you're in the North American branch, you select the North American branch. If you're in another part of the world, you select that part. And the North American branch of the Maple Society, this was one of the international meetings in Raleigh, hosted by the North American branch.
Yeah.
And if you like this super geeky stuff, get involved.
Yeah.
This is a pretty cool organization. Matt was a past president. I'm a past president. And it is a great organization to geek out about maples.
Yeah, and like Tim said, our Friday shows are kind of these gardening 101s or just basic knowledge and information about maples. And I think this is a really intriguing topic to get into. I think it's not something you would normally hear very many people discuss. Even Alan himself said, there's more research that needs to be done on this sort of topic. And I think, the only way to do more research and get it out there is to have these discussions and get people thinking about it and talking about it. So for me, just watching it back today when I was putting together the video, got me all excited about it again. I was like, wow, just this amazing concept of thinking about how these variegations are formed through sports, and it's just a really interesting topic.
So like this video, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel, and get involved in the live chat. This is going to be a fun one.
Yeah.
So get involved in the live chat. You'll have some fun conversations with other maple geeks just like yourself, and I hope you all enjoy this video.
Part of the magic of Japanese and Asian maples is that the more you go and study them, the more you realize that you're really just scratching the surface of what there is to understand. Like the magic of the human egg, which contains the whole female line forever from that single egg. You can trace it backwards too to the original female line if you have enough genetic information. So I watched that, what's the name of that show we watch? Finding Your Roots.
Oh,
Yeah. And as you trace that back, apparently, if you have the information, you can go back and say your original female line started with a Native American. How they do that, I don't really know. But so in that single egg, you have both backwards and forwards for the entire female line that goes on there. And what you see here is a thing on the development of the chimeras. For a chimera to exist, you have to have a mutation. This is a slice of a bud to show you how it works. And there's really two parts of a bud. This organized part up here at the top is called the tunica. This unorganized is the corpus. And the action really happens in the tunica. So, for example, if you start with one mutated cell, then it rapidly reproduces itself until you get a system like this, which is going to be stable. So the important part is A, the mutation must be able to replicate itself on the top of the meristine dome. And secondly, the more it replicates itself, the more stable it will be. to go ahead and click. And unfortunately, I never thought to take any pictures of shoots, but I'll use this as an example. This is Carlman's Moonrise, and you can see what was trimmed here. This whole shoot here is considered, at least to the first leaves, is considered the meristem shoot. And meristems are weird in that all this here came from that bud. And it grows so fast, especially on young plants, and especially on Acer japonicum, that the cells really don't have time to reproduce themselves as fast. So that the original meristem mutation here doesn't even have time to duplicate itself. So the cells in this plant stretch and grow to push this bud out. It's kind of like a loaded cannon. It sits there waiting, and when it comes off, then whoosh, it shoots out. And the corpus down below here, I think, is what fills in behind it and gives it a chance to be stable and strong enough to survive. So most of the valuable bud sports are what they call periclinal bud sports, which means they come from the top. And those are the ones that you have your best chance of stability. You know, butterfly, click. Okashimo, click. And Benishishian are classic examples of periclinal bud sports. Click. And then you get the ones that the mutations kind of on the shoulder of that are called mericlinal chimera. So this is I don't know if you can see here, but Ube does variegate. You can see on the left-hand side here how this is a lighter red than a darker red. Unfortunately, at this point, next week it's going to turn white, and then the next day it's going to burn. I mean, that's just kind of the way it is. So you seldom see the variegation on Ube unless you go out and look for it. But once again, it's a mericlinal, so it just happens every so often, not every year like the mericlinal or motet. Yes, Tim.
So when you're describing these two different ones and you're saying one goes from the top, one goes from the side, you literally mean, what do you mean by that?
Okay, so this is a cross-section of the bud. All the energy and the push in the springtime is going to come out of right here. So if you have a periclinal, that means it's organized itself on the top of the bud. Because when it shoots off like a cannon, it's coming straight through there. Over here on the mericlinal, you can see this one is kind of on the shoulder of it. And when it multiplies, it's more likely to multiply kind of in this part of the shoot, but not all the way to the top. And the closer to the top it is, the more likely the bud is going to be stable. So these, you have your meristem shoot coming out, and if it's not in the right place, then it's what they call a mericlinal, and it's one of those that you see the bud sport occasionally, not often. And of course, the third, so that's periclinal, mericlinal. The third is sectoral. And it's another one, no matter where the buds start, the mutation occurs, it doesn't multiply itself around the top of the meristem dome. It kind of goes down into the corpus. And those sectorial ones you pretty much never see because they don't express themselves because they're not near the top. Yes, sir.
Do you get all three in one cultivar, or is one cultivar prone to only getting one type?
Genetics are weird, so anything's possible. But generally, the periclinal are the ones you see. Those are the ones that are more likely to be stable. Yeah. You know, we'll get into ones that we can show that will contradict pretty much what I'm saying now.
So chances are that seedling we found and have been nursing, and we think it's a special one that we can put our name on, and it doesn't make it the third year, it's one of the other.
Possibly, but of course, if it's a seedling, then you're getting that normal sexual reproduction. So it's more the luck of the draw as far as genetics. So, yes, sir.
Looking at your sectorial slide there, you said that these tend to go down, and so they never express themselves. But is that chimera type of activity genetically going to go forward to other generations and may express itself then?
Probably not, because what you have is when it comes up, you have it set as far as whether it's going to be available or not. However, it could mutate again, and it's possible at that point that you might see it.
Thank you.
Any more questions here? Go ahead, then. Oh, okay, keep going. Go ahead. And here I'm just putting in a plug for you, May, because I think it's a great plant. It's not as big as some of the other varieties, and it's a little bit more narrow, so it fits in smaller gardens. And what I like about it is it has this kind of thin, translucent leaves, so when the light comes through it, it kind of glows. And that's one that's really not common in the trade, but I think. Go ahead,
How do you spell that?
Go back. Y-U-B-A-E.
Why
I don't know if you know that one down or not. Yeah. Go ahead. And then here's some more of the Americlinal. This is Rhyamon. The same way, if you could keep it pretty like this, it'd be a hell of a plant. But it's another one that's pretty when you graft it, and then slowly over time you lose the variegation. Go ahead. Yes, sir.
So with the when there's a loss of variegation, that's kind of suggesting the loss of the genetic kind
No. The genetics for that variegation is still there. And periodically, they'll show up again. And we'll get to that later.
Okay.
But it's one of those, there's a lot of Japanese make a little bit this way. There's kind of a bitter disappointment that it doesn't keep it. Like red uprights variegation. Are they all Americlinal sports? Because it's almost impossible to keep a red sport going healthy-wise. The best ones we have are Lillian's Jewel and Callan's Rainbow. That's not yours, you don't claim it. So.
I claim it, but it's not stable.
Yeah, no, that's right, I agree. And I agree with you.
Neither does my wife.
So anyhow, I don't know what the barrier is to having a viable red bud sport, but it's.
Sometimes you are lucky. I agree with you, we don't know why.
Yeah.
But, I happen to have a Fujinami Shibi.
Yeah.
15 years old in the ground, almost 7 meters tall, always variegated.
Oh,
Luck. It's just luck. I have no reason.
Magnita, this guy. Okay, go ahead. Another one, this is Hemere Nishiki, and it's the same thing. If you get the variegation, it's beautiful. However, keeping that variegation is tough to do. But if you are grafting pretty much any variegated plant, it's important that you graft a stick that has the variegation. At least you'll start with the variegation, whether you can keep it or not. But if you start with one that's not very good, your chances are not really very good. Go ahead, honey.
Talon, is that why, you go to the nursery and you'll see 3 floating cloud, and one of them will be a stunning specimen, and the others will be just kind of full hum. Is it usually from the grafting, or is it part of that to do with where it's been located, or how it's been fed?
All of the
Okay.
What, Ukigumo is a weird one. We always tell the customers, birds cut it out. But I've also seen ones where we don't get around to cutting it out, and the next year it comes back to white. So, but when in doubt, buy the one that's well variegated.
Yeah.
Another point is, on all the variegations, in my opinion, don't over-fertilize. The more you grow, the more green you're going to get. So, and with Ukigumo, a lot of that can be controlled, at least in the Northwest, by shade. You know, if you're out in the sun growing fast, it's green. What it really likes is that ecotone, where it's the edge of the forest, where you get some afternoon shade, but it's enough sun that it grows well. If you put Ukigumo in the full shade, it's a wimpy little thing that doesn't really grow. Of course, there's mutations that are not viable. This is a wide mutation on the Viridis, and if you could actually grow it, it'd be interesting. But it's one that, by the fall of that year, that blood sport is dead, because the A, it burns, and B, it really doesn't have enough chlorophyll to grow. Go ahead, honey. And then we're going to talk about some of the witches' brooms. And this is another source of variation in genetics. Recent research, and really there's only one paper really out of Japan, and one paper that talks about box elder, which shows that the witch's broom is actually caused by phytoplasmic infection, usually brought by insects, you know, the leafhoppers, that kind of thing. And frequently, a witch's broom, not always, will have that shorter middle bud, kind of the reverse theme. They also, you get tighter branching and shorter inner stem nodes as part of the deal of witch's broom. This is Felheim, which is a beautiful little plant, but not as easy to grow as some of the other dwarf Sangocatin types.
What was the name of that again?
Fjellheim, Fjellhie. That's one of those we politely put in the collector's varieties. If you see that, then you know it doesn't really grow that well. Just a word of warning there. Go ahead, click. So this is branch dwarf, and once again you can see that shorted and middle finger. However, you don't always have that on witch's brooms, but then if you see it, it's definitely a characteristic of a witch's broom. And of course, this is lily pad, which is a mutation of a Mikawa yatsubusa. And it's here at the nursery, and you can see here there was a couple years before we actually noticed it.
Yeah.
But it's relatively stable, and it's a nice plant in Oregon where it grows strongly, and then you get kind of maybe about 2-3 foot tall and this wide. I don't know if you guys, it may be more upright.
No, definitely goes very wide, very wide.
Yeah. Anyhow, so you look around at your plants, and I always think people should touch and feel every maple they have in their yard at least once a year to look and see what's going on and to see if you need to cut out, crossing branches and that kind of stuff. I'm not one of those guys that you plant them and then you forget about them, kind of thing. That's like butterfly. The reverted part of butterfly always leaves out before the variegated part. So it's relatively easy in the spring when they first bud out to go knock off all the reversions. And if you do it once a year, you're done. Okay. Now we come to Pixie. The original Pixie, and it's still listed in Vertrees and Gregory's books as a dwarf. So this is Carl Munn's what he calls Baby Chaparrito, which is probably the original pixie. If you graft off of this, it's possible to get 3 distinct forms. First, you get the original pixie, or Baby Chaparrito, or the narrow upright pixie, which is by far the most common, and go ahead, wait a second. And you get a wimpy, nondescript red upright tube with leaves kind of like the sumagashi. And once again, once the graft is set, it's permanent. But I don't know if you've ever dealt with the dwarf pixie. Anyhow, it's once again there. It's a grab bag of which one you will get. Both of them are nice plants. So go ahead and do that. They're both nice plants, but I think what happened is propagators self-selected for the tall upright one because it goes faster, so you can sell it quicker. And this goes back to Americans are impatient. When in doubt, always blame the grafter. Is how that works.
Have you determined where you're getting your scion wood to create those differences? Side branching?
All the dwarfs that I know about of the dwarf pixie comes from Carl Munn. He got the original plant from bird trees way back. Go ahead, look at it.
How old is that?
This one in Oregon, growing, it's 12 years old maybe, somewhere in there. Things grow well. And I guess it would BC too. And it's a great plant. You can keep it with some trimmers and areas you want. So anyhow, this, if you order a pixie, this is most likely what you see. And it is a good plant. Go ahead. And here's another one that really doesn't follow the rules. Passion Nishiki. When you plant a graft, you have that nice mottled leaf plant with some cream and pink in it. But if you plant it out in the field, then you end up with a plant that is mostly just a green palmatum, but you can see a few variegated parts in it. And part of that is a function of being in Oregon where things grow well. But every once in a while, you get this almost white sport that comes off. You know, once again, I don't know what's the original Kasumashiki, but this one's not really viable either. It'll burn on you. But I've seen this multiple times. You actually look for it. Go ahead, click. And then to finish my presentation, this is what I really started about the ephemerals. And the Arita Shiki types are Arita Dono Nishiki if you're a youngster. We always keep with the original name that we have, because the hardest part of our job is educating the customer about the various different varieties. And once they figured out what it is, you don't want to confuse them by changing the name. So I will refer to it as Arita Nishiki. Go ahead, click. And it's the same thing, Arita Nishiki and Oregon go strong. And because when it's young, it's growing so strong, when it gets about the 1.5 inch, the 2-inch caliper, you start to lose the variegation. And you can see there's a few variegated parts on there, but not much. Go ahead and click. But once it reaches middle age, which is 35, 40 years old, then all of a sudden you wake up one spring and the whole thing is variegated. And this is really a function, I think, of metabolism. You know, humans are like that too. When we reach middle age, the metabolism slows down, and all that chlorophyll really is not necessary. So all of a sudden, it reverts back to a fully variegated tree. But click. And in the case of this presentation, I'm considering the Arita Nishiki types, the ones that have that bark streak going up from below in the plant, continuing on up as the plant grows. And this is Karasagawa here. But if you start looking, what I consider the real machine, you all have it. Go ahead, click. This is Rosa, which has become radiant or cosmos or whatever you want to call it. So the same thing, you can see that red streak coming up. Go ahead, click. This is Shigarman Nishiki. You can see it here. Go ahead. Go to Buki, the same thing. So, in my opinion, if you look, you're going to find that arc streaking on the whole. Click. Of course, there's things we'd like to see in middle age. This is Spring Surprise, which I think is one of Talon's. Is that right? Anyhow, if you look, it definitely has that arc streak. Click. And here's what you want, is the Spring Surprise on the whole tree. My hypothesis here is if you could grow this to middle age, there's a chance it would fully variegate again. I don't know if this is true or not, but I'd certainly like to find out. Let's be around to find out. Yes, sir.
One thing on the Arita Nishiki styles like Saki Zuru, Arita Nishiki, Cotton Candy, some of those types,
Same thing.
they're all green.
Yeah.
If you just give them a light green in like February, they go crazy with variegation.
Okay.
That following you, which is as soon as they leaf out, and I don't know why that would play into effect, but that kind of stress causes the variegation to go wild.
And that's probably what it is,
Yeah.
the stress. It's not just anything.
Oh, which is pruning in late February.
Okay.
Late February, right before they leaf out. It doesn't work for all variegate types, but for that, those styles.
Okay, and that on the dwarfs, which I consider cotton candy pretty dwarf,
Yeah.
that's something you should try. You know, when you get up that big tree, it's really not practical.
So mines which are about 20 years old, all green, of course, Oregano and there is a chance to looking at your presentation, you say perhaps
Yeah, when it gets 35 to 40 years old.
15 more years ago.
Yeah, and I'm not, and I don't know what variety you have, but
Oregano Nishiki,
Yeah.
Karasugawa, and 3 or 4 more of the same.
Yeah. I have seen Arita Nishiki, Karasagawa, and probably versicolor undergo this transformation. Not that versicolor has
At about 30 years old, 30, 51.
35 to 40.
Wow.
Have some weight.
Yeah. Go ahead and click on it. Another one, this is the famous rainbow, which is a great plan if you keep it stable. Click. But if you look at the bark of rainbow, you can see that's still that same bark. So there's a chance that rainbow may eventually, at middle age, be stable too. Once again, I'm not sure I'm going to be around to see it. I'm not sure Talon's going to be, but maybe his wife will.
Are those bark streaks prone to sunburn when they're young?
My answer in Oregon is no.
Okay.
What was the question?
Question is, are the bark streaks prone to sunburn when they're young?
Not in Toulouse.
Go ahead, click. And, you know, wouldn't it be nice if your rainbow every spring looked like this? And I think the potential is there that it might actually happen. If you see it, it'll probably be an already kind of situation. But if you took a graph off of that, you may start over again where it's semi-stable, semi-variegated. Go ahead, click. And that's really the end of my presentation. There is definitely not enough research done on any of this. You know, when you start talking about, did I talk about phytoplasmic mutations?
Just briefly.
Okay, anyhow, there's one article out of Japan, and on Japanese maples, there's one on boxwood, there's nothing else. So, in all these things, more research would be nice to verify these things. but since we're up here presenting, we can claim it's true because nobody can tell you different. Yes, sir.
You'd mentioned that that kind of witches' brooms are due to an infection. I wonder if we can identify what that infection is, if we can induce witches' brooms in any and every cultivar. That would be interesting.
Possibly.
Yeah.
It is,
Leafhoppers.
yeah, leafhoppers, I mean,
Keep leafhoppers in, as a pet. Maybe.
yeah, and that's the most likely scenario for it. So it's possible, but once again, nobody's ever done it.
And variegation isn't. Is there any? Does anyone know if any instance of variegation is due to like a viral infection? I know some plants are variegated due to a viral infection, but it seems like in Acer palmatums, it's an actual genetic variegation, not an infection.
I would agree with you, because, we plant out seedlings to graft. You may have this huge bed of seedlings, but if you look closely at that bed, every single time you can find a real mashiki leaf in those seedlings. So it's definitely a genetic strain.
Hey y'all, I'm standing here with Marielle. She is the secretary of the Maple Society of the North American branch. Marielle has been a critical part here at the Maple Society for years, 12 years. What would you say is your favorite thing about the Maple Society?
I got involved because my husband grows Japanese maples, and they asked me to be secretary, and I was really happy to join, to be able to be part of the organization. This is my 12th year, like Tim said, and it's been not too much work. It's a lot of fun. I love talking to people, and I would encourage people to join the Maple Society North American branch. And you can go on their website, and there's a special link to go to North American branch, or you just Google Maple Society North American branch, and there's a really easy way to join. We have a newsletter every season, so either spring, summer, fall, or winter, and it has all kind of information, lots of wonderful pictures, advertisements for different nurseries where you can purchase your maples.
And the Maple Society, it's a great group. We have great companionship going out looking at maples, so the people are just as great as the trees we go talk about. I mean, that's one of the best things about it, is going and building these relationships with other people who love maples. I mean, that, to me, that's one of the things that's amazing, is getting to know people and seeing how you may be growing your Japanese maples in Washington, and we're growing our Japanese maples in Western North Carolina. And we can talk and share that companionship and share our experiences and learn from each other.
Right. And my husband and I live in Port Angeles in Washington. And so we just enjoy meeting everybody from different parts of the country when we get together. We often stay in touch with different people, and we also have different regional groups now in the southeast and one on the western coast. So we get together in addition to the meeting that we have every year. So altogether, it's wonderful to share information about the maples. We all learn a lot of different things.
So join the Maple Society, good group of people. If you like maples, amazing thing to do.
Yeah, we'd love to have you.